In the small town of Windermere, there was a house that no one dared to approach. It sat at the end of Hollow Lane, obscured by thick gnarled trees and perpetually shrouded in a veil of mist. The townsfolk spoke of it in hushed tones, warning children not to stray too close and advising strangers to avoid the lane altogether. The house had once been grand, a mansion with elegant spires and wide, inviting windows, but decades of neglect had reduced it to a decaying relic of its former self. The paint peeled from the walls, the roof sagged, and the windows were dark, hollow eyes staring out at the world with an eerie emptiness. One evening in late October, a young man named Sam, intrigued by the legends and driven by a thirst for adventure, decided to investigate. Armed with only a flashlight and a camera, he made his way down Hollow Lane. The trees seemed to lean closer as he walked, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching out to him. When he reached the house, the air grew colder, and a faint, sour odor drifted from the building. Undeterred, Sam approached the front door, which creaked open with an almost welcoming groan. The darkness inside was absolute, swallowing the beam of his flashlight as he stepped into the foyer. Dust and decay filled the air, and the floorboards groaned under his weight. He wandered through the rooms, finding only rotting furniture and cobwebs. Then, in the dim light of his flashlight, he saw something peculiar, a series of strange, scrawled symbols on the walls. They seemed to shift and writhe, as if alive. Sam's heart raced as he ventured further into the house. The symbols led him to a grand staircase, its steps covered in thick layers of grime. With each step he took, the house seemed to groan in protest. At the top of the stairs, he found a long, dark hallway lined with doors. He hesitated, then chose a door at random. It opened into a small room with a single tattered armchair facing a large, cracked mirror. As he stepped inside, the temperature dropped even further, his breath visible in the icy air. Sam approached the mirror, its surface cloudy and smeared. He wiped a patch clean with his sleeve and peered into it. For a moment he saw only his own reflection, but then something changed. The reflection began to blur, and behind him, in the mirror's glass, a shadowy figure appeared. A woman in a tattered, old-fashioned dress, her face obscured by darkness. The figure reached out a hand, and Sam felt a cold, clammy touch on his shoulder. He spun around, but the room was empty. His flashlight flickered, casting eerie, shifting shadows across the walls. Panic gripped him, and he stumbled out of the room, desperate to escape. He ran down the hallway, but it seemed to stretch endlessly before him. The walls closed in, and the whispers grew louder, hushed voices muttering in a language he couldn't understand. The temperature plummeted, and he could see his breath in short, panicked bursts. Finally, he reached the stairs and fled down them, only to find the once familiar foyer had changed. The furniture was now covered in thick, dark dust, and the door he had come through was gone. In its place was a wall of bricks, cold and unyielding. Sam's flashlight died, plunging him into darkness. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, surrounding him. He backed away, stumbling over debris, and felt the icy fingers of the shadowy figure once more. He turned and ran, his heartbeat echoing in his ears, until he found a small window. With a final burst of strength, he broke through and fell onto the overgrown lawn outside. Panting and bruised, Sam scrambled to his feet and fled down Hollow Lane, not stopping until he reached the safety of the streetlights. When he looked back, the house seemed even darker, the mist swirling around it like a shroud. Sam never spoke of what happened in the house at the end of Hollow Lane, but he was never the same. The townsfolk noticed his haunted eyes and shuddered when he mentioned the house. They said it was better to leave the past undisturbed, and Sam agreed. For he knew all too well that some doors are best left unopened, and some shadows are better left undisturbed.